Hey, what's up, everybody? I was thinking the other day about all the new stuff we got with that Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade video that came out, and it got me to thinking about other characters and what they could be and what their roles could be. Of course, I was thinking about what got me on this train of thought was Sonnen and how he seems to be just a reskin for a possible Cid Highwind when they bring him in, and that could be the case, and I've said that from the start. But my mind drifted to Cosmo Canyon, right? Then my mind drifted to Bugenhagen, and I couldn't stop thinking about all the possible theories and ways that we could go with Bugenhagen. So I wanted to do a video. I think it was last year sometime I did a video called The Importance of Bugenhagen in Remake Part 2. But I wanted to expound upon that because I had some ideas that I didn't have then, like what they could be doing with him in Remake going forward. His expanded roles. I think he will have an expanded role. I think he's too important to not have an expanded role in the game as far as like his knowledge. And what are they going to have to, what's the party going to have to do to counter what Sephiroth and possibly Genesis are doing right now in the storyline? They have to counter it with knowledge. You have to have knowledge. You have to be able to work with what you have, basically. You're flying blind, as essentially as what's happening with the party, and who better than a character like Bugenhagen to fill that role. So right off the bat, I think we're going to get a little bit of precursor about him before the party gets to Cosmo Canyon. Now, whether they get to Cosmo Canyon in game number 2 or game number 3, I hope it's game number 2. I hope game number 2 is long enough that we see Cosmo Canyon and we get there at least. I think it will be. I think it will. I think you have to have all of your characters introduced by game number 2. I think all the pieces have to be on the board by game number 2, basically. And I think they will. But I think before we see him, we'll see like some little cutscenes, maybe, or maybe some dialogue of Red 13 in a cutscene talking about his grandfather, talking about how he is like the sage, the wise man in Cosmo Canyon. I think Barrett will have to have some kind of knowledge of Bugenhagen, right? Because he said that, you know, he went to Cosmo Canyon when he was figuring out what he wanted to be with Avalanche and all that kind of stuff. So there's going to be a groundwork for the characters' interaction within at least a few members of the party, right? I don't know who all from Avalanche went on that Cosmo Canyon expedition with Barrett. I think Biggs has knowledge of it, which that'll play in later to my theory. But so I think we're going to hear a little bit about him before you get to Cosmo Canyon, like right before you get there, right? And then after you get there, but we could see like a little cutscene of him in his like observatory, right? I think the observatory scene is going to be great. I can't wait for that like peaceful little music that plays in that scene. I love that music in that scene when he takes everybody up the cloud and whatever two you select to go up with you, right, in that scene. But I think that as far as Nanaki or Red 13's interaction with him, I think he'll remember Barrett and other Avalanche members. And I think he will have been expecting Aerith. I think he will have been expecting Aerith to get there. I think he's going to be more knowledgeable than he was in the past time loops, I believe. And this time loop, I think he'll have some kind of knowledge about what is going on. I think that's going to be a powerful asset for the party, and I can't wait to see his interaction, like talking to Red 13 or Nanaki, whichever you prefer to call him, as a grandson, and then talking to Aerith in reverence, and maybe speaking to Barrett from a standpoint of knowing who he is and kind of the things he's done, because he's had a past interaction with him. I hope they play that. I hope they play that Barrett knows who Bugenhagen is, because he should. Like he said he spent time in Cosmo Canyon, like the soul-searching journey he was on. He spent time there. Other Avalanche members have spent time in Cosmo Canyon. Barrett and Bugenhagen need to know each other, or else you can throw that out. Because I don't think you're going to have people like Avalanche coming there on some spirit journey to reconnect with the planet and all this kind of stuff and Bugenhagen not talk to them at some point, not being like, oh yeah, it's cool that you're here to learn about these things. I have some knowledge I can impart to you. I can tell you what little bit I know. It's going to be impossible for him to have not done that if that happens. So that Barrett needs to know who he is. I think Bugenhagen will be the first outside of Sephiroth, Aerith, and Genesis, of course, to know or have an idea about what's happening with the altering of destiny. I think he's going to have an idea about what's going on. And of course, I think Aerith's fate, it's obviously going to be altered slightly, but she'll probably still return to the planet at a different point by slightly different means. But Bugenhagen will still accompany the party to the Forgotten City to use the Key of the Ancients. I think that's still going to come into play. I think they're going to be in search of answers to some other type of mysteries surrounding the Cetra. This time, it could tie in directly, like they could swap how things happen in the story, right? That could possibly happen. It could have something to do with another mystery like the Temple of the Ancients. They could add something in there. Because the Cetra had more going on, I'm sure, than just the Forgotten City and the Temple of the Ancients. I think they probably had like more established places on the planet on Gaia, and they could play that up. And you could have several different missions to where you're needing Bugenhagen's guidance on what's going on and where to go. And as far as going to the Forgotten City, this could be really cool in Remake Part 2 or whatever game he shows up in, because he could still accompany the party, and on the battlefield he would be like a guest character if he's accompanying you around. I think that'd be really cool because he could maybe help out from a distance for like some high level like spells or whatever. That would be really cool. I could see him kind of floating around the battlefield and he's having fun with it. I think Bugenhagen is pretty powerful. I think he's probably going to be a very powerful character in this game, and like so OP that he just kind of has a blast helping the party fight. I don't know that's the route they're going to go, but I think that would be a pretty fun dynamic for that short little period of time you would get him traveling around with you. Now, I think one possible function for Bugenhagen could be for him to observe the flow of the events within the planet and guide the party with tasks and missions that will get the proper destiny as close to accurate as possible so that they can defeat Sephiroth. I think he could have a hand in that. I think a cool gameplay dynamic would be if Bugenhagen were like a quest giver, that he could give different tasks and missions to the party that would specifically be relative to the demise of Sephiroth's current objective. You don't have the Whispers anymore, you don't have the basic line of fate anymore, or destiny, but you got a guy who has knowledge of it. He's like, look, if you want to put things back on course, you might want to try X, Y, and Z, and then we'll go back and do A, B, and C. I think he could have an idea of the things you could do in that time, little things you could do to set things. You're not going to set it completely back on the path it was, because that's not the point of the game, right? That's not the point of the game. But if you want a path closer to the old school game, Bugenhagen could be a guy who gives you missions to set things on that path. Just a thought. That's just a theory. But I think that would be one really cool way to incorporate him. And you would have to periodically touch base with him on the different missions and tasks when they're completed to go into the observatory, commune with the planet or whatever he would do there, and verify that, okay, yes, this is the way it was supposed to be. Okay, yeah. And that Aerith could confirm it too. Because I think at this point, the cat will be out of the bag with Aerith knowing things that she shouldn't know right now, because she's been communing with the planet, and she can verify with him. It's like, yes, okay, yeah, this is cool, this is what it's supposed to do, this is what it's supposed to be. And they could kind of give each other like ominous looks, like they would both know that she was supposed to die. And the closer you get to fixing that to where, she's going to die, it could be more ominous. And I think Bugenhagen will also be a guide of sorts for Aerith. She will be able to commune with the planet, of course, but as even the planet doesn't know what its fate will be now, Bugenhagen could be a sage-type mentor to Aerith, like on the physical plane. He could be the confidant, right? She could come to him with concerns and burdens, that knowledge that only she has, and she could share that burden with her. He could like give her some guidance or give her some words of advice, because nobody else on the planet will know what she's going through except for Sephiroth, and she obviously can't have dialogue or sit down conversations with him. I think Bugenhagen could fill that role for that character, for her. I think that would be a really cool relationship dynamic in the story. Like, she has someone she can confide in, and not only to confide in, but to get some constructive feedback from. I think that would be an interesting way for him to go. Now, Bugenhagen's not long for this world. He will want to pass his knowledge on to another teacher, and I think it would be cool if it were possibly somebody like Biggs, right? Because Biggs, he's kind of shown not remorse for the things they did in Midgard, but like a thought of, could it have been done better? Could we have been done better? This is the result of our actions, you know. But he's a teacher, and he loves the planet. That's why he's doing what he does. I think Biggs could be a good choice to have another character interact with Bugenhagen. I think it'd be cool for them to link up, like a type of master-student relationship. Like, Bugenhagen imparts all this knowledge slowly over the course of however long the final part of the game is to Biggs. Biggs stays in Cosmo Canyon, learns from Bugenhagen, and he becomes like the next person to take that role where Bugenhagen is. Of course, Red 13 could do it too, and I think he's kind of groomed for that. But I think Red 13's path, his destiny, leads him not away from Cosmo Canyon, but away from that role that Bugenhagen is. I think he is supposed to have like a more guardian warrior type of role, and Bugenhagen is more like the sage wise man of Cosmo Canyon. I think Biggs, his fate could be something like that. Just a thought to put that out there for you all. But what do you all think? I'm excited for Bugenhagen. I'm excited for a bunch of other characters that we have not yet seen in Remake, and I'm going to be doing some little videos on them, just like I did on this one. I think Bugenhagen has a potential to be very, very overpowered, very knowledgeable, and a great source of knowledge to empower the party going forward. And I think there's a lot of potential with that character. I thought in the original Final Fantasy, as I played through it, there was a lot of potential for him that kind of went untapped. Like, I felt like you should have been able to go back to Cosmo Canyon several times and maybe learn new information, or like learn about like a new materia or something. Even back then, when you didn't get a lot of like side quests and quest givers a whole lot in the Square Enix games, I felt like that was a missed opportunity, even back playing the original game, that they could have done something like that with him. And Cosmo Canyon could have been like a hub for like knowledge and extra missions and things like that. And I think not only could it be, I think it should be. Cosmo Canyon should be so important. It's like the place where people go to be one with the earth, right? One with Gaia. It's like where they go to have their spiritual experience with the planet and become closer to the planet. So it's got to be more important. It's got to be super important in Remake. And if it's not, they missed an opportunity, I feel like. I think Bugenhagen should be at the center of that. But what do you all think about all that? Just some ideas I had. I jotted down some notes on some ideas that I had. I thought that would be really cool to share with you all. Do I think that's what they're doing in Remake? I think it'd be cool if that's what it is, but I'm just trying to start a conversation with you all. I just want to throw that out there. There's no evidence pointing to that. It's a cool thought that I had. Speculation, theory, you know how we do it. I just think that it's got to be Cosmo Canyon and Bugenhagen have to have a bigger, more important role in the game. Just taking what I know that they are changing destiny, they're changing the course of the game. And I think for those who want the game to stay more on a tighter path with the original, I think this could be a way you could course correct that. And the people who want like a brand new story could not do those missions. The people who want to stick closer to the original story could go do those missions. It's just an idea. But I think that would be a great way to kind of Cosmo Canyon be the fork in the road, right, as far as the path of the story going forward. But anyway, let me know what you all think. That was a fun video to do. I was wanting to do that video for a while, kind of expounding on the old Bugenhagen video that I did from last year. But I hope you all having a great night. I hope you had a great weekend. You all have a great day. Keep rocking. Be safe out there. Be good to each other. I'll see you in the next video.